This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me today to recap the Super Bowl and talk all things Detroit Lions is my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
What's up, man? Just real quick programming news. As it sits right now, tentatively, things might change. I'm not sure if they will or not. If you are a listener of the practice squad, looks like it's going to be postponed this week. I had a death in the family, so I will be wrapped up with funeral home stuff most of the time that we record. So I'm going to be unavailable, trying to get with B to see if B wants to do something solo, or if he has anybody he can bring in as a ringer. We'll see. But as of right now, as we sit and we record this one, Practice Squad episode 9, or is that 10? It's going to be postponed until next week.
When I watched the Super Bowl this week, it was something that was like, okay, can we just get a game that was better than last year? And pretty quickly, early on, it was okay, back and forth, 10-10 at the half, and then as the fourth quarter approached, I was like, okay, this is a good game, back and forth, competitive, but when I looked at the entirety of the game, I was just like, how can you have it where a coach who is widely regarded in Kyle Shanahan as one of the best in the world, offensive genius, lineage. His dad is Mike Shanahan, a coach that won with Denver, somebody that's known for, really revolutionizing the running game. How does Kyle Shanahan, at the point when it's go time, it's win time, start to pass the ball when, you look at it and you go, sometimes these coaches, they maybe get ahead of themselves or they say, okay, we got to be aggressive at this time. I just feel like at that Super Bowl, for me, in the manner in which I took it in, I don't feel like the Chiefs won it. Me, personally, squarely, the 49ers blew this one. They did everything that they needed to do, 20-10, 7 minutes left, and all you needed is one first down, run the ball, and they don't do it. And yeah, within the game, we're going to talk all about it. there were opportunities maybe in the first half with Kyle Shanahan not taking timeouts or certain situations with the defense, and Robert Saleh blew it as well, that the 49ers shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. But when you just look at it, Kyle Shanahan put together a masterful performance in terms of early on the first 3 quarters of limiting Mahomes, really stifling him. Mahomes didn't look good for the first 3 quarters, but then when it's go time, when it's time to make the play, they didn't make it. And for me, it was the 49ers game to lose. And I just, you have to assume, right, cuz that, okay, the Chiefs are going to make a run. You don't stop them for 3 consecutive drives in the fourth quarter. You get out, score 21-0. For me, I definitely respect Kansas City. They're in the Super Bowl. They got Mahomes, but you limited him. You stopped the running game. You made plays. You were up 20-10. You picked off Mahomes. In the fourth quarter, you're up 20-10. How did the 49ers not bring this one home?
On top of it, if you look at the 49ers' last 4 possessions, it basically goes punt, downs, and then interception. So your last 2 times you had the ball, you turn it over, and you've got to return the ball back to Kansas City. And you're right. If you look at the stats, Patrick Mahomes had a very, very average game for Patrick Mahomes. Normally, this guy is lighting up the scoreboard and the stat sheet, and honestly, it didn't look anything relative to what you normally see from Patrick Mahomes, like 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 turnovers. Like he threw two interceptions. Like this was just a very basic game for him. And that defense helped contain him. But at the very last second, the 49ers just kind of broke and they couldn't stop anything or stop anybody. And you're right. I have no idea what Kyle Shanahan was thinking, right? You have one of the most potent run games, and you have a running back who a week ago was just ripping off touchdowns. Over the course of the playoffs, the guy scored 9 touchdowns for you. And you only give him the ball 12 times in this game, whereas last week, you just force-fed him the rock. You just gave him the ball time after time. I feel like the 49ers blew this one, but at the same time, don't take anything away from the Kansas City Chiefs. That offense is quick strike. And the thing is, they sputtered for 3 quarters, and all they need is a small glimmer of hope. And once they get that, it's just bang, 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 and they just put points up. That's exactly what happened here. In basically a blink of an eye, like you said, 7 minutes, they were able to hang 21 points. That's crazy. That's crazy. That offense is that good.
It was, a game in which back and forth, I loved the game plan that Kyle Shanahan, came out with early. Mm-hmm. I felt like, I don't go with the narrative that he doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I felt like, the second half possession, when you are 10-10 with an explosive offense, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't trust your quarterback. You're playing the odds and you trust other facets of what you have. You go into halftime 10-10, and it's a relatively back and forth game. You respond to when Casey, I think, scored first, and then you respond and you get the touchdown, and you realize, okay, it's a close game. It's back and forth. We got to do what we got to do. And, you get to the second half, and that's when things kind of unraveled a little bit. Do you feel like, first and foremost, maybe the 49ers got the short end of the stick? There were 2 calls maybe that went against the 49ers, we can argue. George Kittle's push-off, while, yes, quite blatant, maybe doesn't get called at the biggest moment. It provides maybe the 49ers a chance to really have a key play there. Would you have called that? Do you think that was a call that was bogus on the 49ers?
I don't think it was bogus. And look, you can question a ton of calls in this game. There was a snap there where the play clock read 0-0, and Jimmy G ended up getting an extra 2 seconds, and his back foot moved before the ball was ever snapped. So technically you got 2 penalties there. You've got a delay of game and you've got a false start. There was no flag thrown on that one particular play. So I think the reffing in this game was questionable at best. It wasn't, I don't think it was great by any means, but I think both teams benefited from calls.
In the fourth quarter, do you feel like, okay, the Chiefs running back Damian Williams, did he cross the line? Now, you slow it down. First and foremost, how does the NFL not have a camera right there to know? I mean, literally, probably in the next 5 years, the next thing you got to do is just across the league, 32 stadiums, you have it where as soon as the football, you have a little chip in the football, as soon as it hits that line, it lights up. Mm-hmm. Let's end this nonsense of did it cross, where did the foot cross? But based on the way it looked on replay, it didn't look like Williams extended right there. It looked like his foot hit out. If you slow it down, slow, it looks like his foot hits and then the ball is inching, like it's almost simultaneous, but it feels like to me his foot went out of bounds first. And at the moment his foot goes out of bounds, the ball is not just here, across the goal line, but how does the NFL not have it where it's automatic? And how do you not have a camera right where you can see it? So
you need multiple angles for sure.
it wasn't, overturned, but it wasn't conclusive because they say it. They'll say, okay, the call stands or the call is confirmed or overturned. That one was a call where they made it a touchdown call on the field. They replayed it, and there was not enough conclusive evidence to overturn it, but it was so close. And I just feel like on that call, it could have been a situation where the Chiefs got away with one.
Let me turn the tables on you a little bit. Would you prefer that the referees allow a call like that or a play like that to count as a touchdown instead of calling it either dead at the 1 inch line or just calling it down before it goes in the end zone? Because for me, I'd much prefer you allow that to stand as a touchdown. It was so close. It was so close. You allow it to stand as a touchdown. You're going to get an instant replay. So if you messed up the call as the ref, we can get it fixed really quick. In this case, not really conclusive. There was not a really great angle. I'm actually, I have it up on my screen right now and watching it. And it's depending on where the
so close.
Depending on where the foot was and depending on where the tip of the football was, it's one of those things where, okay, which one came first? Did the foot go out of bounds first or did the ball cross the line first? And these things happen and they happen so quickly in real time that for me, I'd much prefer the referee just call it a touchdown and let's go to the booth and let's take a look. And in this case, there's not a good enough angle, and that's on the NFL.
Before we start praising Patrick Mahomes and the legend that's growing now, this quarterback that's 24 years old,
Praise him.
We have to.
It was such a subpar game.
listen, it doesn't matter. When you get the ring, the bling is going to shine on his finger. It doesn't matter because when the light needed to turn on the entire postseason,
It's true.
All he had to do is, there's not many teams. Look, the Chiefs were able to come back 24-0, down 10 in the AFC title game, down 10 in the Super Bowl. It's not that easy to just dial it up and do it. So you got to give him credit there. But hold on, we'll talk about Patrick Mahomes and what he's worth and how come the Detroit Lions are waiting on year 13 to get a guy, that can maybe win a playoff game when.
Or wait, how about this? The Detroit Tigers drafted a Super Bowl champion before the Detroit Lions have.
Exactly. We'll talk all about that because that's just disheartening. People joke around about that, but that's just disheartening. It's embarrassing at the highest levels. Who's more to blame? Saleh and the defense giving up 21 points or Kyle Shanahan and the messed up play calls? Because you look at it like this. 3rd and 15. You've done the job. 21-10. And all you got to do is get a stop. You just got lucky. You got a call overturned where Kansas City wide receiver makes the catch, but then they go, oh, no, he trapped it. So it's 3rd and 15. All you got to do is get off the field. You maybe have to face a 4th down there, and we'll never know. But to have Tyreek Hill wide open, that's the number one thing that they were doing all game long was preventing the big play. At the worst possible time, how could Saleh's defense fall apart that quickly? And obviously, having Sherman go one-on-one with Sammy Watkins is probably never going to be a good idea, and they figured that out pretty quickly when they needed to on the next drive. But Tyreek Hill is the fastest player in the NFL, one of the great wide receivers. You know that Patrick Mahomes is going to want to target either him or Kelsey. How do you give up that play? How does Robert Saleh's defense completely fall apart in the fourth quarter? 3 consecutive touchdowns when all you had to do is give up a field goal. And it just seemed like they were resigned to the fact that, hey, Kansas City turned the light switch on. Now we're going to fold. Or do you say, you know what? Kyle Shanahan messed it all up by not being able to, when the time came and you have the ball 21-10 and you need a couple first downs, ice the game by running the ball. Which side of the ball let the team down more for the 49ers?
Man, that's a tough question because obviously it's a team collapse here. But I think it's got to be Kyle Shanahan again. This is the second Super Bowl, the second time where the lights have been the brightest, and he has essentially folded up like a card table. You have a guy in Raheem Mostert who averages, in this game specifically, averages almost 5 yards a carry. You need 5 yards. Yet you're going to put the ball in your quarterback, who Jimmy Garoppolo is having a very good game to that point. Who's having a very good game. But he throws 2 incomplete passes. So on 2nd down, you pass, and on 3rd down, you pass, and then you gotta punt. And essentially, all you needed was 1 first down. Pick up a first down, and you keep the clock going. and you don't allow Kansas City the opportunity to be able to score a touchdown, and you take it out of the guy who essentially got you there. Raheem Mostert got you there. That offensive line got you there. Instead, you put it in your quarterback's hands, who 2 weeks ago passed only 8 times. And yes, this specific game, he was playing very, very well to this point. But still, why would you take it out of what got you there? This goes to Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl, where they don't run the ball, they elect to pass. You've got beast mode, and yet you don't give him the ball. You want to throw it, and next thing you know, it's a turnover, and you lose the Super Bowl. So in this case, again, Kyle Shanahan's propensity to not run the ball in big moments when you've got big leads, dude, I don't know. It makes you scratch your head. Like, what the hell is going on here?
I just would have thought that Kyle Shanahan would have learned from the 28-3 collapse.
You would think.
Didn't learn. And
you would think.
I doubt that he's going to coach his entire career without getting one. I think this is a coach that's
he's
offensive
a
genius.
Very good coach.
Maybe
for
even
sure.
as early as next year. I just think that this is a coach that understands what's going on. Maybe just needs that final touch, more experience to get over that hump. But man, what a chance! What a chance they blew.
Well, no, exactly, for sure. But look, I think we both agree he's an exceptional offensive mind. Exceptional. But he's got 2 gigantic black marks on his record.
In the Super Bowl. Like when the lights are the brightest, when the spotlight is the biggest, he's got 2 of these. Now, opposite of him was Andy Reid. Andy Reid's the same guy. A great offensive mind, a guy who seemed to fumble the football every time he had a chance to win a Super Bowl. And he was finally able to get it done. And the guy is going to go celebrate and eat a cheeseburger, and it's fantastic. But I think Kyle Shanahan gets one. But until then, this is going to haunt him. Because it gets brought up all the time. I was at the gym the other day, and I was just kind of walking through the equipment, heading over to the dumbbells, and I looked up and they had ESPN on, and they were talking about, how should Kyle Shanahan be remembered here? How should he be looked at going forward? And it sucks because you haven't been able to win when you got a lead. Like you do basically everything right for 3 quarters, and then you screw it up in the 4th. And it's just because you don't want to run the ball. When you've built a savage-ass run game, what are you talking about? Just hand the ball off, man. Or find Kittle underneath.
Yeah.
5 yards. Just put it on him, This is a guy that has established himself as one of the premier tight ends, and you don't find him that often late in the game. So they just didn't make the play late. Now, some people have pinpointed that, hey, Kyle Shanahan did a decent job. It wasn't him that missed a wide open receiver when it's money time, because I tweeted from our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast when Kansas City took the lead, the 49ers had the ball. And I'm like, are you sensing 49ers here? Can a legend grow in Joe Montana? And it just didn't seem to me that when the 49ers offense came out on that field that they were going to move the ball with the efficiency. You didn't get that vibe from Jimmy G. But you had a situation where a wide open receiver, all you got to do is put a little bit of air under the ball and it drops right in and he walks into the end zone. Jimmy G missed, the open receiver. So there's some blame he's got to take.
Emmanuel Sanders
was
just streaking down the field.
But there were still 3 Kansas City Chiefs defenders there. Mm-hmm. But, you got to make that throw. It's the biggest moment. You got to make that throw. That's what they're paying you for. Did you hear Frank Clark kind of say, hey, you guys are paying this guy $130, $140 million. You got to throw the ball. So I could see why a little bit that maybe, they were willing to go a little bit pass heavy there because you got Jimmy G. You feel like he can do some things. He had a successful season, but it just felt like they were out of rhythm late in the game. They never got fully throttled offensively. And part of it was due to what the Chiefs were doing. I mean, they dialed it up the pressure. They said on the graphic, early in the game, the Chiefs kind of dropped back a little bit, but late in the game in the 4th quarter, on 13 of Jimmy G's dropbacks in the 4th quarter, the Chiefs pressured on 8 of them. So they dialed up the pressure and started getting there, and so they timed it perfectly to put up the pressure at the biggest moments, and that's what you saw.
He got sacked one time, he got hit 6 other times. So I mean, they were bringing it.
But and then that interception that he threw was god awful, eyes closed. That was probably one of the worst throws he's going to have. You can't have that in the Super Bowl.
The best part was the camera caught it.
Yeah, the camera caught it, and everybody saw maybe there's a reason why. The head coach Shanahan doesn't trust Jimmy G. So all the way around, you got to make those plays. And that's in those big moments, in the biggest of big moments in the Super Bowl, when you don't make those moments, you can nitpick a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But the MVP of this game turns out to be 24-year-old quarterback Patrick Mahomes. And it's a story when you look at it is crazy. The Chiefs have a quarterback. They have an established quarterback in Alex Smith. And you bring in, along the way, several years ago, Andy Reid to turn it around after his stint with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he comes in with the number one pick, selects the offensive lineman from Central Michigan, and he's off and running. But, the disappointments start with Alex Smith. And you're wondering, okay, can they win with him? Is he too conservative? What's going on? So what they do is, in 2017, they draft Patrick Mahomes. And he sits. He doesn't get the opportunity to play right away. He gets in, and it's an unbelievable situation where Tom Brady and the New England Patriots basically had to have miracle after miracle happen for them to advance to the Super Bowl. So he's right there last year. And so you recognize, wow. Late in 2018, you get a situation in which you're starting to recognize, oh boy, this Mahomes guy is up there right away, maybe top 5 quarterback in the entire league. And now you get into this year where he's the guy right away. He's the guy, and he suffers an injury this year, comes back relatively quickly, and has an unbelievable run. And you recognize, wow, there's something special about this guy right away when, he gets down 24-0 and they don't blink an eye and they just dial it right back up. And the Texans just had no answer for it. And you recognize, wow, this is a quarterback that has what we call it. And this is what we talked about 5 years ago, because you remember we talked about there's something missing from Stafford. Yeah, he's got the arm. Yeah, he's got this. Yeah, he's got that. But I refuse to say that the Lions haven't built around him. They've built 12 football teams around him. 12 different teams. Okay, now, you can't get a Hall of Famer at running back, a Hall of Famer at wide receiver, a Hall of Famer at tight end. Yeah, they built around him, but think about it. They've built 12 different football teams for Matthew Stafford, and not one of them hit. Okay, you don't get this? And I understand that the situations are different, but Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl in his 3rd year. Okay, yes, it's a team game, and the team was better, but Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, you could say Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay are on that level. They're not like, leaps and bounds behind those guys.
Here's the thing. Sammy Watkins is a guy who, when he was drafted, they spoke very highly of him. He goes to Buffalo and doesn't really pan out. He's looked at as a bust. Ends up finding his way in Kansas City, and his first year in Kansas City wasn't all that great. But now he's the second option to Tyreek Hill, and when Tyreek Hill's not there, Sammy Watkins gets the job done. Look, in this game alone, Sammy Watkins had almost 100 yards.
Exactly. And here's the thing. What did the majority of the Kansas City Chiefs players say when they were asked, what did you feel like when you were down 10? They said, it was all good, baby. It was all gravy. Why? We got Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. There's nobody in the Lions locker room that's sitting there going, oh, it's all good. We're down 10. We got Matthew Stafford. There's nobody saying that. And that's why the fans are just so, adverse to move on from Matthew Stafford, because they don't believe the organization can go out and get better. Mm-hmm. They're so fearful that, oh my gosh, we're going to have this drop-off. But you're not winning with Stafford. It's been a decade. The entire run of this podcast. This is what? Episode 340 of Doc and Jock. 340 weekly podcasts, and the Lions don't have a playoff victory. And you guys will still tweet me and get mad at me for my anti-Stafford situation. Look, yeah, he's fine. You can build around him again, and you can try, but
let me ask you this.
I'm ready to move on.
Let me ask you this. If Matt Stafford was on the Kansas City Chiefs.
No, they don't come back.
They don't come back at all.
No, they don't come back. They get, maybe, you know what they do? They get 2 of the touchdowns, and it's 20-13, and the next one, when it's time, he doesn't execute. He doesn't make that throw to Sammy Watkins, drop it on a dime, and get in there. No, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Why? Because for whatever reason, okay, a guy like Matthew Stafford, when it's the oven's the hottest, it's not there. For whatever reason, the line doesn't play right, or a play will happen that doesn't happen. A false start will happen. He doesn't find the right guy. He's been given plenty of opportunities. I don't think, like I said, in year 12, 13, 14, you're going to see this renaissance from Matthew Stafford. What you're going to see is, for me, I understand it. You're going to see what you saw in the second half with the 49ers. You're going to have Darrell Bevell just dink and dunk it with Stafford, take calculated risks, and find TJ Hawkinson and find the running back. That's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. I don't think that if the Lions win a postseason game, it's going to be because Stafford throws for 404 touchdowns. It's because they're going to hand off to Kerryon Johnson or J.K. Dobbins if they draft him. He's going to be basically turned into Jimmy G, what we saw in this playoffs. You're going to just get a situation where, wow, the Lions won a playoff game. Stafford threw for 80 yards and 9 attempts. Mm-hmm. That's what they should do. I feel like that's what they're going to try to do, because, when the lights are the brightest, he might throw the interception. He might not make the key play. Or you now got to fear that he's going to get injured. But you just can't. And then I couldn't believe it because I got a tweet on Tuesday morning sent to Detroit Podcast. Stafford is better than Mahomes. That's what people are willing to tell me. They go, "Oh, I'm going to follow you. You don't like Stafford." I'm like, you guys don't have Patrick Mahomes. You have a second-tier quarterback. Okay, let's say you want to put him at fifth. Okay, fifth isn't going to get it done when you got Lamar Jackson, you got Jimmy G, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got this next wave of young quarterbacks that have already passed your guy. So the top of the second tier doesn't get you all the way to where you need to go.
Well, look at it this way. Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans has more playoff wins than Matt Stafford.
But they'll dismiss that and say it's Derrick Henry.
I get it. I get it. But what I'm telling you is this guy still had to go in, play under center, and still at certain times make clutch plays.
So what makes Patrick Mahomes special? Why does he have that it factor? Because he's got it. He's going to be a $40 million man. He's going to probably command anywhere near $200 million twice because he's 24. 5 years, he'll be 29. He'll get that again. Maybe he'll cross $50 million. This contract, you get 5 years at $40 million. The next one, you get 5 years at $50 million. This guy's going to make a shit ton of money. And he's probably going to rack up 1, 2, 3 more touchdowns, maybe even before Stafford gets one playoff victory. So why is Patrick Mahomes the shining star, the bright light that's come out of 2019?
I really just think it's his mentality. Like, honestly, when you watch this guy play, does it not seem like he's playing backyard football all the time? Like, it's just him and a couple of his boys, and we're just going to go out there and throw the ball around. And we're going to, he was like the elite athlete of the group, right? You all went to high school with that one guy who you were like, man, he is so good. He is so athletic. Like, everybody has played either rec ball or has done something athletic in their lifetime where they have that one buddy who is just heads and tails above everybody else for whatever reason. Just never either made it to a D1 program or wasn't maybe gifted enough to get there, but he's that much better than you, right? Everybody has that one buddy. That's Patrick Mahomes. He's that guy who's just out there having a good time because he's just better than everybody else. He's more elusive. He's more athletic. He's a little bit more elite. And the guy just has vision like nobody's business. I mean, this is a guy who was throwing no-look passes. I'm going to look to the left, and I'm going to throw it to the right, and I'm going to go across the field. That's what this guy does. He's just out there having fun. Honestly, as Logic would say, he's balling. He's just out there balling, having a good time. Just having fun with it. It's the moment is never too big for him, right? So every now and then you see this with Matt Stafford where he just gets frustrated. The play call doesn't go right. The route is ran incorrectly, or something just happens. Whether the offensive line breaks down, something happens where the play just gets blown up. Patrick Mahomes, if a play gets blown up, he'll usually take it and make something out of nothing, or he's just all right, cool, let's just get him next time, guys. I mean, dude, you were down 10 points in the biggest game of the year, and you stormed back to put 23 straight up in the final 7 minutes of a ball game. The guy just sat there cool as a cucumber. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's an amazing situation. It's amazing that Andy Reid and that marriage right away worked out, and the Lions are sitting here spinning their wheels trying to figure it out.
But listen, all that being said, I don't believe he should be the MVP. I do not believe he should be the MVP of this game. Damian Williams should be the MVP of this game. Damian Williams had 2 touchdowns. He touched the ball 21 times, I believe, and had 123 yards total. Damian Williams was an absolute savage in this game, and Damian Williams should be your MVP. The fact that Patrick Mahomes won the MVP, I was shocked and stunned when it was announced. I was like, are you serious? It's like the award always has to default to a quarterback. I hate that. That drives me nuts. Give it to the best guy in the field during the game. Damian Williams scored 2 big touchdowns for this team. It helped catapult them to this victory. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes touched the ball every single time on offense. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes played okay. We talked about it when we opened. Very average, very pedestrian numbers for Patrick Mahomes. But it was good enough for this one day. I think Damian Williams was the reason that the Kansas City Chiefs won this game.
I can agree, but a guy like that leads his team to 3 straight touchdowns, makes some throws that others could not make, probably is going to get the shine. Mm-hmm. But it's okay, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're going to be, a force to be reckoned with for years to come. And I'm kind of excited for AFC football in the coming years because I think you're going to have a budding rivalry between the Chiefs and the Ravens. I think we're going to see 2 or 3 AFC title games that are going to rival what we've seen in the past from like the Packers and the Niners, Packers and Giants and 49ers, Giants. You're going to see some great games. And I think there could be some games where it's Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. Oh my God, it's amazing to see. It's going to be amazing in the next coming years. And then you throw in the mix what's going on in the NFC with the 49ers and then some emerging teams there. And you got the Titans in the mix too as well, who will be developing. What you got to see what they're going to do at quarterback. So the league is healthy, very healthy, and it just thinks that the Lions, I just don't think are going to be part of the mix. But we'll talk about it next because when you see what happens, I definitely wrote about the fact that, okay, there's some lessons that you can take from the Chiefs and from the 49ers as well. And we got to talk about some rumors regarding Matthew Stafford, and everybody's talking about Tua, and everybody's talking about, well, the Lions should address quarterback, but should they do it in the first round? We'll break that all down coming up next here on Doc and Jock. Because the reason why we're able to broadcast every single week and the lights are on and the studio mics are hot here in our Sterling Heights studio is because we're able to work with great sponsors. And one of the great sponsors of this week's broadcast is the Motor City Pawnbrokers. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're looking for quality, brand name, new, and pre-owned merchandise. With 4 great locations in Detroit, Ferndale, Roseville, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. So today, check out all the great deals, all the happenings at the Motor City Pawnbrokers by visiting online, MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. That's MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. And if you're near any of the locations, head on in. The great staff there, Mark and the crew, are dedicated to providing great customer service. Tell them the Detroit Sports Podcast Network sent you. The Motor City Pawnbrokers, a great sponsor of this network. So, cause I know you're hearing all the Tua talk, all the talk that the Lions need to address the quarterback situation. And look, I understand that, national media will sit around and do their roundtables. I saw one on Tuesday, again, that made me laugh. ESPN had their peeps sit around a table, and what did their brain trust come up with? Matthew Stafford is going to be the NFL MVP in 2020. You got the national media just, really... I get it. I know you guys want, Quinn and Patricia to text you back. I know you want that inside info. So you want to spew out information that the Lions are going to be the next 49ers. It ain't happening. Okay. The odds are so far great that the Lions will even make the postseason that it's ridiculous to even say that. I know you can't just say, well, let's sit back and wait and see till the draft and free agency. Well, Bob Quinn's had 4 years of drafts and free agency, and the money he's put out there, it hasn't resulted in playoff wins. It hasn't resulted in great play. You got a quarterback in Matthew Stafford that's 2 years now dealing with a back injury. You got a running back that makes, that could make one single cut, and he's going to be out for a significant period of time. You got an offensive line that's going to be in flux and blown up. You got a defensive line where Snacks, where Ashawn Robinson, where, Mike Daniels, all could be gone. So you got to remake the entire team in essence. 30% of this roster is going to be overhauled. And you guys think that, yes, with the third pick, one player, that guy Okudah, Derek Brown, whether it be a quarterback, you think that Isaiah Simmons is just going to come in here, walk through the door, and it's like, party time, we're now the Chiefs. Get out of here. Let's be realistic. I wrote, on SI Lines Maven that realistically, 7-8 wins is the next step for this team if you want to decide if you want to keep these guys or not. This team's not going from 3 wins to 12. It just isn't happening. You're going to have the Packers. You're going to have the Vikings that are already better than you getting better, and they're going to get better faster. So you guys are not in the mix. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to break your dreams here, and I'm sorry that the national media is blowing smoke up the Lions' ass. But in reality, the Lions... I could entertain them taking a quarterback at 3, but I would not then put 2020 as a year of wins. I put it as a year of growth and maybe seeing the likes of Tua in games 11, 12, 13. But for me, I look at where the Lions are at, and you see, okay, what do the Chiefs do and what do the Niners do? Barring what the Niners did late in the Super Bowl. When it's crunch time, plays are made. You know, Mahomes is throwing it to Tyreek Hill for big-time plays. They don't make mistakes late in games if you're going to win at the highest levels. So my takeaway is that the Detroit Lions, and I wrote a piece on SI Lions Maven right away the next day after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Definitely go check it out. I think a couple lessons you can take away from the Chiefs is that they were aggressive late. They got speed at the right spots, and they're a team that has the it factor. They make plays when it counts. So for the Detroit Lions, if they want to kind of redo some things, they got to boost the speed all over the offense and the defense. The defense is just big, lumbering guys trying to get to the quarterback, whereas the Chiefs feature Frank Clark. They feature these unbelievable guys and Chris Jones that just get there, and they got speed. And so for me, I think that there's going to be a little bit of mix there of building between the Chiefs and the 49ers, but I would think now that you probably want to target what the 49ers are doing and trying to get very impactful players along the defensive line, but I don't see a one-year turnaround for the Detroit Lions. It's going to take time. And then in looking at the quarterback situation, I'm not opposed to it, but I think the most realistic scenario in which you can probably think what's going to happen is look not to Tua, look not to Joe Burrow, look maybe down rankings 3 through 10 from Herbert, the likes of Jordan Love. Look among those guys and check out our draft profiles and see what we think about that, because I don't think the Lions are going to invest at number 3, but they could make a trade with Miami to get down in the later part of the first round and maybe take a Jordan Love, maybe take a Herbert if it all works out in the combine. I think a quarterback will be taken, but not that high.
So here's the thing. Justin Herbert is a name that is really starting to pick up a lot of steam. And it seems like he's climbing up a lot of people's mock drafts, which is weird to me because I watched him play a couple times. I watched him play a couple times last year. Last year, I think he was a better quarterback than he was this year. And at no point was I like blown away by this guy. I was like, oh my God, we got to go get him. He's going to be a stud. At no point did I get that feeling.
The reason why is his arm talent, that he can make the throws, and he's a big dude, 6'6".
Hey, you have a guy like that on your team right now. That was the thing with Matt Stafford. He can make all the throws. He can throw it all the way down the field.
But Herbert has a little bit of that elusiveness, probably similar to Stafford does at this time, but maybe just a little bit higher. But yeah, exactly. With Herbert, the talk is no doubt that he could turn into somebody. He's not there yet. So that's why people will not like that pick if they make it. Right there on draft day, it'll get booed.
Yeah, it's weird because he seems to be climbing up everybody's draft board right now.
He's ranked third.
He is a guy who is really kind of moved himself into the spotlight. And it's really weird because he went back to school last year and he could have been
dumb. That was dumb.
Yeah, because he cost himself some money. And look, when it's all said and done, it might not be a ton, but he cost himself some money. The thing that you have to remember is if everything works out the right way, right? If the Matt Stafford or if the Matt Patricia Bob Quinn formula works the way they want it to work, you as the Detroit Lions will never be drafting in a spot this high again for probably the next 10 years if it all works out the way it's supposed to. So what do you do if you're in this spot? How do you handle basically building your team and addressing the needs that you're going to need for approximately the next 7 years? Do you know what I'm saying? Like you as an organization don't ever necessarily want to be in this spot. You ended up in this spot because your franchise quarterback got hurt. And you know what? You were smart enough to say, you know what? Screw this. Tank for the season. It'll be okay. It's no big deal, right? Essentially, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia were like, we got 2 years left on our deals. It's cool. We got this. We'll handle it. You're now in a spot where you got to make an impactful move that's going to set your organization up for the future. The 49ers did it. They drafted Nick Bosa. Bosa's an absolute savage. Bosa was great on Sunday. Bosa has been great during the playoffs, and Bosa has been great during the season. You need to go get a guy like that, whether that's Tua or it's Isaiah Simmons or it's Okudah, whoever it is. You have to go get a guy who is so impactful that he sets your franchise up for at least the next 5 to 7 years, at least. And I don't necessarily think it's Okudah because he's a cornerback. I think you get a lockdown cornerback, that's great, right? Like I think it was Stephon Gilmore was the defensive player of the year. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but whatever. Stephon Gilmore was a savage, right? Stephon Gilmore is not necessarily winning you football games, though. You can make the argument that a guy like Nick Bosa did that at times for the 49ers this year. You can make the argument that insert quarterback, whoever, won football games for whoever, like Patrick Mahomes won football games for the Kansas City Chiefs, just won them the Super Bowl, right? So what do you do if you're the Lions in a situation like this? I don't have a problem with you taking a quarterback with your third pick. I also don't have a problem with you trading back. I was just, as you were talking, I was kind of tooling around a little bit on the internet, and CBS has a really interesting mock draft. And we're going to discuss a mock draft later on that Logan did on simavens.com. But I was tooling around, I found this mock draft, and I want to run this scenario by you. So the Detroit Lions at 3, they trade back with the Oakland Raiders. So the Raiders move up from 12 to 3. The Raiders take Tua. All right?
Ooh.
So Isaiah Simmons goes next at 4. Jeffrey Okudah goes 5th to Miami. Justin Herbert goes 6th to the Chargers. Derek Brown goes 7th to Carolina. Andrew Thomas, offensive lineman, goes to Arizona. So on and so forth, right? All the way up until pick 11, where AJ Espinosa goes at 11. Is another guy that we've talked about a little bit. Now, the Lions, sitting at 12, take Kristen Fulton, cornerback. This is what he writes. Tom Florino. The Lions stay at number 3. They'd probably take Okudah. In my mock, they trade down and still get a top corner in Kristen Fulton and pick up an extra first-round pick. So now let's go to that first-round pick. And I want to know if you like this or not. So basically, they get the 12th and they get the 19th pick from Oakland. With the 19th pick, the Detroit Lions take Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver.
Oh, I thought about that too, in terms of building through the offense. Here's the tough part with that, okay? Mm-hmm. Is it enough to overcome the disastrous defense that you have, okay? Because, the Lions, in essence, would be probably upgrading a little bit from Marvin Jones and would make Kenny Galladay that much more explosive. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. That defense is so bad, it ranks probably among the worst in the world. So while I would love that, I think it would make the offense explosive with Matthew Stafford. It would take them to another level. I just think that the philosophy organizationally now is building through the defense, is trying to get there by playing stout defense. You got to remake that offensive line. So it's really tough because I just think the need along the D is so much greater than it is for wide receiver. You could roll with drafting lower because the depth in this year's draft for wide receiver is really rated high. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great slot receivers. There's a lot of great talented receivers. You can get rounds 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you roll with Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, and then a draft pick later, and then you got to address defense in that first 2 picks. You have to. Because of the fact that defense is so bad and that you're going to lose 3 players potentially, and Jared Davis isn't a guy that you can rely upon. So there's 4 players right there that you got to kind of account for that you need, a positional upgrade. Along the defensive line, potentially 3 players and 1 on, in terms of the linebackers, you're probably going to need an upgrade. And potentially speaking, if you pull the trigger and make the move to let go of Darius Slay, how do you justify not getting the best corner if you're going to trade Darius Slay? Mm-hmm. I just think it's going to be Okudah or Derek Brown. I don't see a quarterback. I see in the first round. I just see the situation where maybe Miami bypasses Detroit and just trades up with Washington or trades with the number 1 pick to Cincinnati.
Let's do this then. Let's play this game. So we'll say this trade happens. Okay. All right. So the Lions trade with Oakland. They give up the 3rd. They pick up the 12th and the 19th. So let's look at defensive players, because you think you have to go defense with your first 2 picks. Let's look at defensive players that are around that 12th pick. So AJ Espinosa goes essentially the pick before, but we'll say he's there. Lions can get him possibly. You've got Kalavian Chasen, LSU sophomore. He's an edge rusher as well. Javon Kinlaw, defensive lineman out of South Carolina. I don't think safety's necessarily a big need. So you basically got those 3 defensive linemen. Which one of those guys would you go with?
Kinlaw, because of the fact that he performed unbelievable in the Senior Bowl. So I think that's the name that's kind of shot up there that people are talking about. But
and I'll have you know this. According to this mock draft and the information provided, they have him ranked as the 2nd best defensive lineman that they have. No doubt. So you're getting a ton of value there.
You are. So I just don't see the trade happening. I just see they want to trade, but I don't see it being executed.
Okay, but let's continue to play now. Mm-hmm. All right, so now we're at pick 19. All right, let's look at defensive players that are around the 19th pick. So you got C.J. Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. You've got Trayvon Diggs, cornerback out of Alabama. That's Stephon Diggs' brother. You also have A.J. Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. You got Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama. You got Terrell Lewis, edge rusher out of Alabama. And then you've got Patrick Quinn, linebacker out of LSU. And then you've got Nevin Gallimore, D lineman out of Oklahoma. So I just threw a lot of names at you. Let's just go positionally. Would you go cornerback? Would you go safety? Would you go edge? Would you go linebacker? Would you go back to the D line?
I would go potentially based on if you take Judy first, you probably then have to go D line. So you probably look at the likes of Kinlaw, or you say who'd you say around there?
No. So you've already taken Kinlaw.
You've taken Kinlaw there.
So you took him at 12.
Okay, took
so
him at
now
12.
you're coming back at 19.
Then upgrade the linebacker.
Okay,
take
so you're
linebacker.
Linebacker.
Yep.
So at that point, you take Patrick Quinn out of LSU.
No doubt.
According to this, he'd be the sixth positionally. He'd be the sixth best linebacker. So that's interesting. And I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. I don't know if they're going to do that though. I really don't. I think that Bob.
You
Quinn,
could see a realistic offense defense kind of mixing the first two picks.
Yeah. The thing is, I think Bob Quinn believes that Matt Patricia believes that he can fix this defense with what he's got.
Oh God,
I
no.
feel like both of these guys believe that we can take scraps and we can make a feast for everybody.
The film don't lie.
I'm aware.
They'll change that.
I'm aware.
They've changed that now if they've watched the film.
I'm aware.
They don't have
but
players that make the key play at the key moment. They need home run hitters.
I agree with you 110%. I do. That's why, let me put it like this. If they were to trade back to 12, or make this trade with Oakland, we'll just say, we're going to live in fantasy land. They make this trade with Oakland. They move back to 12. If Espinasa's there,
probably go with him.
You got to go with him. You have to go with him. And then you can come back and you can take Jerry Jeudy if you want to at 19. I don't mind that. I think there's a ton of value with that pick. But that's how I would do it. Also, I don't have a problem with them taking a quarterback at 3. I would like them to move back though, and I'd like them to get something. And if it's with Oakland, I don't necessarily like moving out of the top 10. That's my problem, because I think there's so much talent in the top 10 that it almost hurts you to move that far back. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it just seems like the Lions are like 2 more drafts away from maybe even being realistically competitive. That's why pretty soon we're going to have the debate, do we see Patricia and Quinn even lasting the season? Because of the fact that if they get off to a rough start, if the season doesn't kick off the right way, they could be dismissed pretty quickly. I don't think that the organization can handle a year of speculation and the fans just becoming unruly, because it'll be year 3 of Patricia and you already got a fan base that is distrustful of both of them. So Logan checked out the Bleacher Report 7-round mock draft, and he commented on what he saw. It was basically a defensive heavy mock draft.
Super defensive heavy.
Most people liked it. I felt like, getting Okudah and getting a bunch of defensive players was really something that I think was impressive in this mock draft that he reviewed.
Yeah, so going through it, if the Lions drafted like this, I don't think any of us would have a big issue.
It was pretty good.
So you're going to take Okudah at 3, so you sure up that linebacking or that cornerback spot. You're going to follow that up with Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. So now your secondary has just been bolstered. And what did we talk about when Matt Patricia was brought in? He likes to have a strong secondary. Again, he doesn't really rush anybody, so that makes sense. You need to strengthen that secondary because he's not sending anybody, which is kind of annoying. Doesn't like to blitz. They then follow that up in the 3rd round with edge rusher Terrell Lewis out of Alabama. Again, like this pick. I like where they're headed here. What I really like is what they do in the 4th round, though. They go get KJ Hill out of Ohio State, wide receiver. KJ Hill is a stud at creating separation. He's a very good route runner. The guy does a ton with probably not the highest ceiling of talent, but does an exceptional amount when put in a spot. And if you were to line Kenny Galladay up outside, you put KJ Hill inside. I think this makes that offense a little bit more lethal because it's going to give Matt Stafford an option, if anything, underneath or running a slant where he can get the ball to a wide receiver who can make a play. And KJ Hill strikes me as a guy who can come in and make an immediate impact. And if you're getting immediate impacts out of 4th round players, you're doing something right. 5th round linebacker Willie Gay Jr. out of Mississippi State. He's a big body. I think this, if you could get this guy and you get some production out of him, he becomes a rotational player. Fine, I'm cool. Offensive tackle Cotton McKivitz out of West Virginia. I don't know what you're going to necessarily get out of a 5th round pick as an offensive lineman. Again, rotational player, maybe fill in when guys get a little bit beat up. You've seen what the Lions do with their late round offensive linemen. These guys don't ever really seem to pan out to be anything great. They can fill in when dudes get hurt, and that's about all you're going to get from them. And then D lineman Robert Windsor out of Penn State. Again, like that pick, this is a guy who could rotate in, provide a little bit of depth.
Check it out. SI Lions Maven, si.com/NFL/Lions, or follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. We'll be putting out mock drafts, reviewing mock drafts. Obviously now to review a lot of them all together. By and large, the majority are taking the Lions selecting Okudah at 3 or 5.
But you would co-sign a draft like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just massive defense.
No,
just
massive
like
defense.
All defense.
Heavy defense, offense in the offense in free agency. No problem there at all. One last thing here, one final note.
This was funny.
Yeah, it was. It is. Looking at mock drafts, it's mock draft season. That's what it is that we got to look forward to the Lions repairing whatever it is with their roster. Quick news and notes. There's rumors and speculation that, potentially the Lions are either going to play Atlanta or Jacksonville on the road. And it's looking more and more like there could be a nice little road trip back to London for the Detroit Lions in 2020.
For real?
Yep, because of the fact that the way the schedules line up, because Jacksonville's going to play back-to-back weeks in London.
Yeah, but Shad Khan also owns a soccer
exactly.
team, so he doesn't lose anything.
Yeah, he's got an office there, so it helps him out in all that realm there. So, I'm not traveling. Hell no. Like I said before, I ain't going over to London. Heck no. But it'll be interesting to see. They've had some success there, but I think they're 1-1. So we'll see what happens in 2020.
I don't know about all that.
But once the Super Bowl ended, the odds were released pretty quickly, and the Lions are long odds, 66-1. Drop $100 to win, 66 times your money.
Hell no.
Yeah, I wouldn't even drop $5.
Not in these Lions.
No, not at all. I think that you and I are kind of in the same boat. One last thing to revisit from the Super Bowl that we didn't talk about. I think you and I were probably in the same boat. Thumbs up on halftime.
Oh, I thought it was good.
That was great.
Bro.
14 minutes of joy.
I don't understand what everybody's all pissed off about. I don't get it.
It's because they were sitting with their kids going, why is why is Jennifer Lopez on a pole?
Right. Great.
Because she's an entertainer and she's highly paid. She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah. And she's like the hottest MILF around.
Exactly.
Like, for real, she looks like sexy mom.
Exactly.
Like, I would jerk off to that porn for sure.
It was great.
But here's the thing. Last year, you had Adam Levine basically running around topless the whole time.
Exactly.
Covered in baby oil, and everybody was cool with that. But now, because you got Jennifer Lopez, who's fully clothed, by the way.
Do your thing, girl. Do your thing. That was
not mad
awesome.
about it.
Yeah, I said right away, let's get Shakira Lopez 2 next year. Let's just keep it going. You perform well. Let's get number 2 next year and ramp it up.
Look, my big issue was, what the hell was Jay Blevin wearing? He looked like he was a Martian.
Yeah,
I didn't understand what the hell that hat was that he had. I had no idea what was. I was like, dude, what is going on here?
Yeah, Doc and Jock, thumbs up on halftime. We definitely loved it. It was great. Commercials. For me, I liked, for me, actually, the commercials weren't that great. I liked the one with Jonah, the movie star, and the one where he does, drinks the Coke and kind of gets back to him with the text messaging and, getting it there with Martin Scorsese. I think Jonah Hill's his name.
Yep.
And so I like that one the best. I think some of the worst ones were the Rocket Mortgage. Didn't do it at all. I thought some of the, the concepts with a lot of the alien mix thing wasn't appealing to me. So, again, second year in a row, thumbs down for me on the commercials. I liked one, maybe two of them at best.
I thought the Google one was
okay.
heart-wrenching.
Yeah. The political ones were funny. I'm like, oh, he went there.
Mm-hmm. The Google one I liked. Which other one? There was another one. I liked the Post Malone Bud Light one.
Yeah, Post Malone was funny too.
That was kind of funny. I like how everybody inside his head basically has face tattoos.
It was good.
That was weird. Yeah, the commercials were just kind of okay
for the money.
Oh, the smart car. Yeah. Everybody pocking with the smart car. I thought that was good.
It's just funny, the advertising world, to pay $5 million and then to produce it and to hire people, they got to just step their game up. Better concepts all the way around.
Marketing majors out there, do your job.
Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. This podcast is coming to a close. Thank you so much. We are 340 episodes down. Now we're going to transition to the offseason, heavy draft talk, looking at some of the rumors going around. It's rumor draft season. It's a good time. And definitely we'll see what the Pistons end up doing with Andre Drummond. Lots of rumors there heating up with the Pistons and what they're going to do. Luke Kennard could be on the move. So stay with us in the next week. Follow us on Detroit Podcast. Follow us on the network at Detroit Podcast, where we'll talk all the rumors regarding all the sports, and especially follow SI Lions Maven. Talk soon, everybody.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I am
Voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me. They talk to me.